Hi, and welcome to episode 3. Today we will be talking about the signs and symptoms of bowel cancer and what to look out for should you need to. So please remember, I'm not a doctor. Seek professional help. Talk to your specialist or to your GP because obviously this information here is a general nature and not specific to anyone in particular. During the early stages of bowel cancer, there may be no symptoms at all, which is why it is very important for screening. We will be talking about screening in the next episode, but the screening is what comes from knowing what the signs and symptoms of bowel cancer are, which is what the purpose of today's episode is. As a tumour grows, it can narrow and block the bowel. You shall not pass! Resulting in changes to the size, the shape, the colour of your poo, and there could be rectal bleeding or blood in your stool. So it is very important to be aware of these general signs. But remember, you can also start to develop bowel cancer without any bleeding being present either. These symptoms, if you are bleeding, can sometimes be attributed to hemorrhoids, or they might be simply ignored by a GP, especially if you are at a younger age. They will usually, hopefully not, though you'll usually say that you're too young for bowel cancer because it is commonly an older person's cancer, as we have discussed in the previous episodes. Cancerous tumours that grow on the left-hand side of the colon generally cause constipation, alternating with diarrhea. So sometimes you're going to have to run to the toilet, sometimes you might not go for a few days. Abdominal pain, so you might have cramping or spasms. And you might have an obstruction or a blockage from time to time. And you may also develop another symptom such as nausea or vomiting as well. Cancerous tumours growing on the right-hand side of the colon generally produce a small ache of the abdomen, sometimes some spasming as well, and you can occasionally get some blockages as well. So it is important to be aware of where your pain is, where your symptoms are, because that will give your doctor a much better idea of what they're dealing with. Another thing is anemia, so which is a low red blood cell count, something that I had leading up to my diagnosis. And a low red blood count can result from chronic blood loss, so I was having blood in my stools. Weakness, tiredness was happening for me. Weight loss, so from the time where I started to get sick to the radiation, chemo, to massive lots of surgeries, I dropped 40 kilos. So that's quite a significant weight loss. So if you're losing weight without intending to, make sure you're aware of that particular symptom. You may get some swelling of the abdominal area because obviously when things are not going right, you might get some inflammation in that area, and again, the bleeding. So when you lose that blood, your body is running out of a lot of essential nutrients that it should have inside it to function. So it is very important that you are aware of that. Patients with cancer of the rectum may present with a change in the bowel movements. So my tumour, this one, was in the rectum. So that changed the way I was able to actually pass my stools going to the toilet. There was a lot of difficulties, and it was quite painful at times. You might get bleeding, as I said, so I was bleeding. The urgency, so you might be perfectly fine and you're sitting down watching TV or whatever you might be doing at home, and then all of a sudden you've got the urge and you have to run so fast because you might have a situation you don't want to have happen. There are 5 most common symptoms of bowel cancer, and any of these could be an indication of colon or rectal cancer, and it should be investigated by your GP if it persists for more than 2 weeks. So it is very important that if you see something different and it goes over a 2-week period, you have to go to your doctor. And I addressed that in the previous episode, we'll go into a bit more detail now.
2 weeks later.
So, there is a acronym which happens to spell Bowel, which is where the cancer is. Blood in your poo. So if you're going to the toilet and if you can see that there is blood in your stools or blood in the toilet, in the water, or even when you wipe, that is a high indicator that you could potentially have bowel cancer. That is one of the more common ones, but as I said, there may be no blood present, even though there could be a tumour forming. An obvious change in your bowel habits. Are you going more often or less often? Is it hard? Is it soft? Is it water?
Sometimes he's runny, sometimes he's firm, sometimes he's practically water.
There is something different in your habits. You know, some people might go once a day, they might go twice a day. If you're going 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, then that is an obvious change in your bowel habit. Weight loss, W. Weight loss that you cannot explain. I lost 40 kilos throughout the entire process. I even lost a little bit of weight after the tumour was removed and I was in hospital, but there was some complications from everything that was happening while I was in hospital. Extreme tiredness for no reason. So again, that comes back to the anemia. If you normally, can go for a run, bike ride, swim, whatever, play your sports, but you get so tired very quickly, very easily, you might need to have a nap in the afternoons, that could be a sign of bowel cancer. And a lump or swelling of your abdomen. So depending on where the tumour is located in your abdominal, in your bowel, it can have different effects on your structure. For me, in the mornings, my belly would be massive. I would look like I was 2 years pregnant with triplets. And then I'd go to the bathroom and everything would settle down. So that was a very uncomfortable thing that would be happening quite regularly. And it was one of the urgent points that was telling the doctors that something could potentially be wrong, which of course there was. Now, it's important to know that not everybody experiences these 5 most common symptoms. So it is important that if something is different, you talk to your GP. Don't wait more than the 2 weeks. Get to that 2-week point, and then call your doctor, make an appointment, and get it done. I was really lucky. When things were going on, I contacted my GP. He said, "Come and see me straight away." So we went and saw him. He rang up one of my specialists, got me booked in, within a week. I saw that specialist, did the colonoscopy, did everything else, found the tumour, got rid of some polyps, and then that specialist referred me onto a more of a colorectal cancer specialist. I saw him within a week as well, and we started treatment straight away. There was boom, boom, boom. There was no delay. I was very lucky. Please don't delay. Some of these symptoms can be due to other medical conditions. Some of them could be related to food allergies or reactions to certain foods, or if you are on a particular medication. Some medicines can mimic the 5 most common side effects of bowel cancer. So it is important that you tell your GP if you are having particular medications that you're having then problems going to the toilet or whatever else it could be. So make sure you speak up. The most important thing is blood in your stool or rectal bleeding should never be ignored.
There's got to be an investigation into this. This has got to be, someone's got to be accountable for this.
Hey, it doesn't matter whether you feel fine. It doesn't matter if it happens, once a month, once a week, once a fortnight, every 3 months, whatever it might be. If you're bleeding when you go to the toilet or in general, you need to talk to your doctor. It is also important, as I said, to keep note of what is happening with these changes. So keep a little diary, either in your phone, grab a piece of paper, a notebook, whatever it might be, and when something happens, write it down, and try and remember what you may have eaten beforehand, because that could also help the doctor identify if you have a food problem as well. When you go to your GP with your bowel problems, there is a general list of questions that your GP should be asking you during this consultation. Obvious one is how recently did you notice these symptoms occurring? And because you'll have that piece of paper or the note in your phone, you'll be prepared with that answer, so they have a lot more information to work with. They will ask you about bleeding, and a very important question is, what did that blood look like? Was it like a fresh fire engine red, like a fire truck? Was it runny or thick? Was it darker blood? This will give the doctor an idea of what could be happening, and also try and note how much blood there is. The easiest way to do it is is it a 50-cent coin, a 10-cent coin, or some common shape or size of something that you and the doctor can talk about and relate to. Again, has there been a change in your stools? Normally you want like a nice little sausage coming out, but if it's splotchy or little chicken nuggets or whatever else, that is a change in what would be normal. So please make sure you actually look in the toilet. Don't be a fool. Check your stool.
There may be something there that wasn't there before.
Okay. Is there difficulties in going to the toilet? You don't want to be straining when you're sitting there. It should come out pretty easily. Do you have a family history of bowel problems or bowel cancer? Again, I have a family history of bowel cancer, but we did that genetic testing years and years and years ago before I was ever sick, and we don't have the gene on my side of the family. However, my bowel cancer, this tumour, was a spontaneous mutation. So you might be fit and healthy and everything's all good, but it can still happen. It's out of your control. Have you had, the doctor should be asking, have you experienced any abdominal pain, or are there any lumps or swelling? Because that is a common sign. And again, the doctor should be asking you, have you been monitoring your weight? Now, I weigh myself once a month, forever, because that's something I'm interested in. And as soon as my weight did start to drop, that was something that I paid attention to, because I wasn't intentionally trying to lose weight at the time. The doctor should be also asking you about your lifestyle and your diet. The doctor will want to know, are you exercising? Are you eating healthy foods, or are you eating takeout all the time, or junk food, all that kind of stuff? Because that can, if you're eating the wrong kinds of food over a long period of time, it can affect your digestive system. Your doctor, depending on how long you've had your doctor for, they should know your general medical history anyway. I'm very lucky. I'm nearly 40 years old, and I've had the same GP since the day I was born. I'm very lucky. He has my entire life history of my medical records, and we could go back in time and work out what might have happened, but it was pretty obvious that this was a spontaneous change. So we did the blood test, we did the scans, first surgeon specialist, the next specialist surgeon as well, and then everything went from there. The doctor will talk to you about the medications that you're on. There are some side effects to any kind of medication. So your doctor should normally tell you what those side effects potentially could be. Not everybody does get side effects from their medication. Some people get all of them. Some people might get one or two. So it is important that you discuss that. And a big thing is, some people like to take laxatives to help them go to the toilet. If you have laxatives for a long period of time, that can cause problems with the lining of your bowels. In addition to asking you all those questions about your symptoms, your doctor may do an examination. It's not very pleasant, but it is important. And if your doctor chooses not to do an examination, you might want to ask them why that is, because it is important that your GP has as much information as possible should you need to then go and see a specialist. You may also do a blood test, because there are certain markers in your blood that can indicate should you have cancer. So there's your CAA markers. You want that to be below 1. When I was diagnosed, it was on a little bit more than that, but at the moment, it's hovering about the 6, 7, 8s at the moment. You might also need to do X-rays, CT scan, MRI, depending on what's going on. But usually a GP should start with a basic scan and a blood test. When you go to your specialist, they might do further investigations before getting you in to do a colonoscopy or whatever else. If your GP cannot determine the cause of what's going on, they may say to you, okay, let's wait another week or two, see if these things still happen. And obviously you want to continue keeping a diary and keeping record of what could be happening. And once again, also write down in your diary what you're eating, apart from what's happening each day when you go to the toilet or anything else. Obviously when things are continuing, you go straight back to the GP with that information, and that is usually when they'll then do further investigations via the specialist. Something very important is the younger you are, the more likely it is that your doctor will dismiss your symptoms or try and come up with a different diagnosis apart from cancer. It is very important that you advocate for your health and your well-being. You do not want to have your symptoms dismissed as something that it's not, and then that tumour grows from a small polyp to a larger size cancerous tumour that can then cause significant complications down the line.
Perhaps there's something there that wasn't there before.
It is very clear, when you go back to your doctor, that you are pretty firm with them, because some could be a bit casual. Obviously, 99% of your doctors will be great, but some doctors might be a bit casual about what's going on and just say, it'll pass, you're just young, don't worry about it. If you are highly concerned, go and see a different GP. Tell them what's going on. Take your notes from your first consultation and your second consultation and go through everything with them so that they are fully aware of what's going on, and insist that you go and see a specialist. That way they can properly investigate what's going on. At any stage of this whole process, if your symptoms are getting that bad, you do need to insist on a colonoscopy. And especially when you've already gone for that first 2 weeks and potentially another 1 or 2 weeks, you want to get that colonoscopy within 30 days. Because they need to get the camera in there, see what's going on, see what could be causing problems, and obviously take something out if something has to be taken out, or address it with medication if that is an option for you. There are many common conditions that can affect your bowel health and your rectal health, and these symptoms are similar to what bowel cancer symptoms are. You might feel embarrassed to talk about these problems, with your doctor, with your family, with your friends, but it is essential that you talk to somebody. You got to get these things addressed. If you're too embarrassed because of your health problem, then you could die from that. And everybody has something going on, so please don't feel embarrassed.
I toss and I turn and I dream of what I need.
It is important that you see your GP if you feel the need to do that. Okay, please do it. Quite commonly, you will not have bowel cancer as such. You might have a few polyps that are causing problems here and there. It might be a different condition going on that mimics bowel cancer symptoms, because there are quite a few different medical conditions that can mimic the symptoms of bowel cancer. But it is important that you do your tests, whether it's a blood test, a scan, and that colonoscopy, to rule out the fact that it may potentially be bowel cancer. The other conditions that can mimic the symptoms of bowel cancer are anal fissures, extreme constipation, so you might have a blockage or whatever else that's happening, and when that passes, that can cause damage to the lining of the inside of your bowel, which could potentially cause bleeding and significant pain and even bloating. So once it passes, usually everything's okay, but it can cause some problems. Crohn's disease, ongoing diarrhea. So if you've got diarrhea all the time, that again can cause a few problems for the lining of your bowel, which can potentially cause some bleeding from time to time. Diverticulitis, food intolerances and allergies. So you might have been fine eating a particular kind of food for several years, but all of a sudden, for whatever reason, your body changes and it happens, and you can't eat certain food groups, and that will cause problems within your digestive tract. Inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, piles or hemorrhoids. When you're passing your stool, that can aggravate the hemorrhoid, which can cause it to bleed. So it is important to get that addressed. And also ulcerative colitis. So that list of medical conditions do have very similar symptoms to bowel cancer. So it is important that a proper investigation is done. All this info is sourced from Bowel Cancer Australia, Cancer Council Australia, and Cancer Australia. I'll put some links in below so you can do further research for yourself, but it is important that you do understand the signs and symptoms of bowel cancer. As I've said, this is episode 3, so I've said it for 2 previous episodes. Do not delay if there is a problem. Please seek medical help. It is vital that you address the problem as soon as it appears, or it could get worse. So please know the signs and symptoms of bowel cancer. See your doctor, get help. Okay? Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit like, subscribe, it's free. Ring the little bell thing, it'll alert you when the next lot of videos come out. Give me some comments, give me some feedback. Let me know if you're enjoying these videos, or if there's something I've missed that you might want to know about. I can do a bit of research and hopefully answer some questions. And please make sure you share this with your family, your friends, your carer. It is important to talk about this because it is a serious issue. And remember, I'm not a doctor. Please seek professional help and ask a professional to investigate what's going on, to make sure that you are safe and well. Thank you very much. Have a great day.